Katie. I'd like to thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
I know last time you and I got a chance to speak, you said you had a lot on your plate relationship-wise. What's been going on?
Well, so I've been seeing my boyfriend Alex for 3 months now, and it's been going really great, but lately there's been a lot, I guess, a lot more issues because, so before I was seeing Alex, I was seeing this guy named Nate for a couple years, and it was not a healthy relationship by any means. It was a little emotionally abusive at times, and I'm just starting to realize that now.
Yeah.
And that's been really hard on me, which has been really hard on my new boyfriend, Alex.
Yeah.
He's been trying to be really supportive of everything that I'm dealing with, but that's, it's hard for him to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially, like when I explain it to you, you get it, because you're, a woman and can understand how I feel, but, he's a guy who's never been in a long-term relationship, so it's hard for him to understand, so that's a little difficult.
Are you starting to see a lot of parallels between your old relationship and your current relationship?
Not really parallels, because Alex is completely different than Nate, but he'll, say something, and it'll, remind me of my old boyfriend or something that he did.
Yeah.
Or he'll, just act a certain way. And even if it's not in the same context that my ex-boyfriend would act that way.
Yeah.
But, it'll make me feel the way that my ex-boyfriend did.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So it's kind of... And he never means to, make me upset, but, I guess it's just, a habit or, a gut reaction to, get upset when something like that is happening.
Yeah.
Even if it's just, he's kind of a quiet guy. He won't be, overly, loquacious at times. And my ex-boyfriend, when he wasn't talking, he was mad at me.
Oh, okay.
And I was about to get yelled at.
Yeah.
But when Alex isn't talking, it's because he's tired. Or, has something on his mind and he's just, thinking it out.
Yeah.
And, it's not a bad thing, but I take it as a bad thing.
Yeah. So when you hear Alex getting quiet, you kind of revert back to how it used to be with your old boyfriend.
Yeah. I expect that I'm about to get yelled at or we're about to get into a fight, and it's just never...
Yeah.
I expect that something bad is about to happen as soon as Alex gets quiet, but it never does.
Yeah.
But I'll just be like, what's wrong? Why are you being quiet? And he'll be like, I'm just chilling. And so I'm just not used to it.
Yeah.
And so it's a good difference.
Yeah.
But I'm just not used to it. So it sometimes I get upset and he doesn't really understand why, and then I have to explain it all over again, and it's complicated.
It sounds to me like these two relationships are very, very different.
Yes, very different. Alex is really loving and caring, and my old boyfriend was very dramatic and selfish and just not very considerate. But Alex is very considerate, and I guess he also, so he hasn't been in a long-term relationship or a relationship that really lasted more than 20 minutes in a long time.
So this is new for him.
Very new for him, which is, I don't know, it's kind of hard sometimes because he's been, just by himself and independent for years.
Yeah. And
I'm used to being, as a duo. So in that, I'm used to communicating with him more. So I'm used to texting all the time.
Okay.
He's not used to texting. Mm-hmm. Which then makes me oh, you don't want to talk to me. But he's just I don't know, my phone exists most of the time. I'm just So that's,
Have you brought these things up to Alex? Maybe trying to change some of these little things? Maybe having him text you a little bit more or giving you a little bit more attention?
Working on it.
Okay.
I've brought it up a couple times, and it'll be one time it was an argument.
Yeah.
And then the next time it was hey, remember that we talked about this? And he's oh, sorry, I've just been busy, I forgot. I'll make sure that I'll try a little harder. And every time we talk about it, it gets a little bit better.
Good.
So So he's responsive to discussion, which I'm also not used to. Like, my ex-boyfriend, we talk about it and nothing would change, like, at all.
Yeah.
And so it was always just another argument that I had to have.
Yeah.
It's not like a reminder, it's an argument.
Yeah.
But Alex isn't like that, which is cool. But I'm also just, like, not used to it, which is, like, he'll tell me, like, hey, you know, I want to work on things, I want to try harder.
Yeah.
And I won't believe him. Because I've been told that 1,000 times from my ex-boyfriend, and, you know, believed it every single time, and then nothing came from it.
Yeah.
And so now it's just, like, a little hard to always believe that he, like, wants to try. He wants to spend time with me. He cares about me, when I've been lied about that before.
Yeah.
So I'm trying really hard to trust him and believe him, but I have trust issues. But, like, he has trust issues, too. They're just a little different.
Yeah.
So, and, like, we've talked about it, but he still doesn't always quite get it, you know.
I was going to ask if this is something maybe you've talked to him about before, about maybe the trust issues or the different things like that you just brought up.
Yeah, like, we've talked about it. He is actually, so my favorite part about Alex is that he wants to hear about, like, my problems.
Yeah.
Like, he wants me to talk to him about it. And, you know, he's a guy, so he doesn't always quite get it. But he wants to hear about it. So if I have to explain it a couple times, he's like, that's fine. Like, I want to be happy. I want you to be happy.
He's actively trying.
Yes, which is, like, a whole lot. He, like, really cares that I'm okay.
Yes.
So I've talked to him about it, and, you know, he is, like, starting to understand that, like, you know, I've been told I love you, and then 20 minutes later, like, I'm not sure if I love you. But he's just like, I love you, and I want you to believe that I love you, so I'll just keep telling you that I love you. Which is, like, really cute. I think he's really good for me. And I think it's a good transition to have someone so honest, coming from a relationship that was based on lies.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, it's just a hard transition.
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying, I take the words I'm trying. I don't want to seem like I'm being overdramatic or, like, getting upset about things, because I know that there's nothing to get upset about. Like, I know it, and I don't want him to think I'm crazy, but, like, there's things that I'm, like, dealing with that he won't get.
Yeah.
That have nothing to do with him, but, you know, they affect him.
Yeah. Well, you know that you have things that you're working on, and Alex knows that you have things that you're working on, and it sounds to me like he's really making an effort to help you with that.
Yeah, he is. One day, last week, a couple weeks ago, I got upset about, sorry, can I answer this? Hello? I think you have the wrong number. That's okay, bye. Sorry about that. So, one day a couple weeks ago, he called me, or we were hanging out, and he did something that reminded me of my ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
He was being really quiet, and, you know, as soon as we were alone, he met my family for the first time, was kind of what happened.
Okay.
And he was really quiet and nervous and, like, standoffish, but then, which I'd never seen him like that, because he's a very outgoing, you know, person.
Yeah.
And so I was, like, already kind of freaked out that he was being quiet.
Yeah.
And then, as soon as we were alone, he, like, was criticizing a bunch of the stuff that I had done that night. And he wasn't, like, meaning to. He was doing it to be like, hey, I don't like it when you do that, so I want to tell you that I don't like it when you do that.
Yeah.
And I got upset because that's something Nate would do pretty much every time we hung out.
Okay.
So he would just, like, criticize me and get mad at me.
Yeah.
So I was not used to it. And so I freaked out, and I was, like, bawling, crying, and he didn't understand why until I explained it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he was like, crap, I didn't mean to, like, upset you or remind you of your ex-boyfriend. I was just trying to, like, communicate with you. And I'm like, sorry, like, it really has nothing to do with you. Like, it's fine.
So, like, when Alex criticized you, it kind of brought you back to that place where you were before with your old boyfriend.
Exactly. I felt like I was just, you know, right back where I started.
Yeah.
And I was really scared that, like, Alex was going to be the exact same way that my ex-boyfriend was. That he was going to, you know, be angry and critical and judgmental of me.
Yeah.
And he wasn't meaning to. He was just trying to tell me that I upset him.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. Like, tell me I upset you. I just was expecting, to get yelled at.
Yeah.
And then that week, he was like, okay, let's sit down. I want to hear more about how, Nate treated you and how it made you feel so that I don't do that.
Wow, that is really nice of him.
Yeah, it's like super mature and stuff. So, which was cool, and, we hung out, and I think I talked for like an hour or two about, exactly how things went down, and, it was mostly about the, like, way he would act around my family, and then be mean to me. So it was like explaining that more in depth so that he really understood what was going on. So.
But it was fantastic that he gave you that time to kind of air everything out. Like, this is what happened in my past. This isn't how I want it to affect our current relationship.
Yeah, and that's the main thing is that I understand, I was with my ex-boyfriend for years.
Yeah.
And it was, my main developmental years of, like, late high school, early college. So that was, a lot of, when I was trying to figure out who I was, and then, it was developed unhealthily. I was in a restrictive, slightly abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And now I have to figure out how to be in a healthy relationship. And that includes a lot of talking and telling him how I feel, which is really hard. I don't know how to tell people how I feel. I'm not very good at it. And he wants to, because what I do is I get upset about something.
Okay.
And I just bury it down. And I pretend like it doesn't upset me, and then just hold on to it for a while.
Yeah.
Until I get over it. And then I never talk about it.
Yeah.
Until I blow up like 3 years later. So, that's kind of how that works. But I know that that's not healthy, and that's not what I should do. But, like, when I got upset about things in my old relationship, if I brought it up, it always somehow got put on me.
Yeah.
And I didn't, I'm just not used to expressing my emotions. Like, it would always turn into a fight and get put on me, but then he would, be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna change, and then nothing would happen. And it would be the same argument 6 months later.
Yeah.
So,
What sounds a lot to me like you know now what you want and how a healthy relationship should be established and should be carried out. And I feel like that's really going to help you in the long run, especially with Alex, who it sounds like you like him a lot.
I do like him a lot, and I would like things to work out. And I think it's good that he's my first boyfriend outside of, past this new relationship, because he's so understanding and so mature.
Yeah.
And so instead of, getting angry and pissed off and, just breaking up with me when I'm, talking about my ex-boyfriend and kind of, dealing with actual emotional things, he's like, all right, well, let's talk about it. I want you to feel better. So it's kind of cool.
That is a great habit to have. Definitely getting the time to talk about what exactly is going on and how you're feeling, that can really help you and Alex out in the communication area.
I really like that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I'm trying to, move things slowly with him.
Yeah.
And it's not happening. Things are moving kind of quickly.
Yeah.
And I didn't want them to, but, the way that I feel about him, I'm okay with it, but I was, I guess I wasn't really expecting things to move so quickly. Every relationship I've been in has been 0 to marriage in, a couple months. And this, it's moving quickly, but I don't think it's moving that quickly. We haven't talked about getting married. We haven't talked about moving in together, which is good. Yeah. We haven't been together that long. But, other boyfriends, literally those things come up in the first couple months.
Yeah.
And, which is weird.
Yeah. You're trying to find the balance between spinning your tires and being stuck in the same spot and going from 0 to 100.
Yes. I'm trying to find that balance, but he's in the military, so...
Okay.
And in a year, he's going to get restationed. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to, get my heart set on something and be like, he's the one, I'm ready for this, and then him get shipped off somewhere. So that's a little, and then at the same time, like, what if it is, a good relationship, and what if I do really like him, and then he does get shipped off somewhere, and we're still together,
Yeah.
So that's also something to be dealing with, like.
It sounds like you have a couple different obstacles to kind of cross over in this relationship, but you're making really good progress.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, so if I can ask you one question.
Mm-hmm.
Out of this session that you and I have had, what is the one thing that you're going to take away from this? What was the one talking point that you had reached that you think is the most important that you should maybe think about a little bit more? The most constructive part of it.
I think the main thing that I need to keep thinking about and keep working on would be actually communicating things to Alex. Not like, it's slowly getting better that, like, I'll be upset about something and I'll tell him, it's getting sooner to when I'll actually tell him when it happens. Like, the first time I got mad at him about something, it took me like a week to tell him. And the next time, it took me a couple days.
Okay, so there is progress happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I need to keep working on that, because it still takes a couple days for me to tell him that he did something that upset me. I can't fix it if I don't tell him. So.
Well, that's progress. It doesn't exactly happen overnight, but it is something you're working on, and that is fantastic.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk more about that next time.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, I want you to, like you said, keep that in mind, and come back and visit me in like a week, and let me know how everything's going. Let me know where your head's at.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Katie.